The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. So we have a question from Laura, who lives in Birmingham, and Laura says, finally, we have someone at the Department of Health looking out for our children. I always knew Tylenol was dangerous, and science says now that it is linked to autism. This is positive from a conservative administration. Now, I'm sure you all will complain about this, but why can't you support health policies that positively impact our children? Well, Laura, thank you for the question. And are you referring to giving Tylenol to children or pregnant women taking Tylenol? There is no link between taking Tylenol and autism. Autism was first identified, I don't remember the name of the researcher, the medical doctor who first identified autism in children, but that was in the 1950s. No, I'm sorry, that was in the 1940s, and Tylenol was not developed until the 1950s. So Tylenol or acetaminophen or paracetamol, depending on where you live, it's the same product. That has nothing to do with someone who is on the autism spectrum disorder. It's also called ASD. Genetics very much does. One reason that more people now are being diagnosed with ASD is that medical doctors, their understanding of what ASD has expanded, and who is considered to be on the autism spectrum range has expanded. The studies that Trump is referring to are observational studies, and they are not they don't have the scientific rigor that is required to establish genuine causality. So, no. Anybody who has any question about any kind of medication, you need to talk to your doctor. Do not listen to Trump. Do not listen to RFK Jr. Neither one of these men went to medical school. This is what medical school is for, is to teach people how to be a medical doctor and what a person needs to know to be a medical doctor. Talk to your medical doctor. Do not listen to Trump or RFK Jr.
Thank you, Dr. Weldon.
Yeah, well, I'm not that kind of doctor.
Dr. Bound, and well, I am Dr. Gersher. So let me just say that I am not a medical doctor, and I don't know anything about Tylenol other than in the 1980s, they were the poster child for how to deal with a public health crisis and brand crisis after product tampering killed 7 people and triggered a nationwide panic. But here's the thing. The company back in those days was owned by Johnson & Johnson, and they did an amazing job they changed the top of the bottle so that people couldn't tamper with it. They went from capsules to pills so people couldn't inject anything into them. They did a whole bunch of different stuff. And a couple of years ago, and this is really where I think this needs to start going. A couple of years ago, Johnson & Johnson spun off Tylenol and Neutrogena and Johnson's baby shampoo and Listerine and Band-Aid to a new company called Kenvue. And since word got out via the Wall Street Journal that Trump was going to release a report tying Tylenol to during pregnancy to autism, that company's stock has plummeted by 17% and closed down by 7% on Monday alone. That's a huge drop in a stock. And it really seems to be for the most specious reasons. But my guess is, and I am not a conspiracy theory, but here I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist, that somebody was shorting some Kenvue and that this was all about manipulating stock prices and not anything to do with public health.
Okay. So normally topics do not impact me in the least. Let me first say I am also not a medical doctor. However, I was a paramedic for 30 years, so I do have some medical knowledge. I have a grandson, 6 years old, who has autism. And Laura, that boy speaks 6 languages. He does math that probably you or I even couldn't comprehend. Are there certain things that he does not understand because of his autism? Yes. Yes, there is. But the fact is that was not caused by his mother taking Tylenol. I'll borrow this from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Science doesn't give a shit what you believe. And that's all that this is. This is something put out there by 2 people who have no bloody ass clue. One with a brain worm and the other one with no brain whatsoever. And all of a sudden, now this is your science. And yeah, this was, when I read this one, I put this in here only because it just pissed me off. Down there in Birmingham, I don't know if you have an autistic child or not. If you do, hey, you know what? You're blessed. Because there's some things about autistic children that are absolutely wonderful. My youngest grandson is the apple of my eye. And like I say, he speaks Japanese. He speaks Spanish. He speaks Portuguese. He speaks that English his father speaks. And if I say to him, Ein Pils bitte, he knows enough German to go get me a beer. The kid is amazing. He was here for the summer, and he was doing math problems that I was sitting there going, holy cripes. That's beyond me. He can code. He's 6. Now, there's certain things that he's probably a savant in. By reading your email, you're not a savant at anything other than believing 2 guys that you probably shouldn't. This is one of those times where I'm really going to take great offense to this, because unless you have experience with this, unless you understand it totally, and yes, my wife and I are active in the Autism Society, absolutely, because of our grandson. You want to help your children? You know what the greatest fear my son and his wife has? Because of the policies of your president, that they're going to take away the services necessary for that kid in school. Now, you want to talk about, helping children? Why don't we talk about that one? Why don't we talk about school lunches that your president wishes to take away because everybody's on the dole? So, no, this is one of those Tylenol. Good God. The only thing bad about Tylenol is, like Scott pointed out, because of the injection thing that they had and some people dying, it makes it harder to get into everything else now. Now you got to open the cap and you got to punch through the thing. And when you get older, that's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry, that's just a pain in the ass. And it's everything. They put it on everything. So yeah, you've got that from Tylenol. That Tylenol is the drug they give you when they don't want to give you the real stuff. How many times do you go into the doctor and they say, oh, well, just take a couple of Tylenol. Oh, shit, you won't give me anything better? And that's really what it comes down to. So, no, I'm sorry. This one, very rarely does a question annoy me to no end. Before I even saw this question, when I heard this thing from Trump and RFK Jr. Spouting about what causes autism and all the different reasons that autism, that they seem to think this is, and then because I'm looking at your email, science in capital letters. Science in capital letters. Brainworm and brainless probably can't spell science. Sorry, Laura. Yeah, you got this one just ticked me off to no end, because unless you've lived with a loved one that has autism, you just don't get it. And I'm going to tell you right now, he brings great joy to our life. He truly does. He's fun. And yeah, there's certain things that, no, he does not comprehend. But every time I see him, and I only get to see him about once or twice a year, I always see him. He gets better and he gets better and he gets better and he gets better. And I'm going to tell you right now, that kid's probably 10 times smarter, brainworm and brainless. That's all I'll say about that. Sorry. Okay,
Brooke. You want to add anything? Nope. Okay. All right. So thank you,
He let me rant on that one.
Yeah, that's quite all right. Thank you, Laura. We appreciate the opportunity to let Mark rant. Thank you for the question. And thank you for listening. And thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for your emails and for spending some time with us on the Nova Society. If you're not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free, and we will see you again next time on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!